Hi everybody, it's Gods here with a tutorial on how to Piroflip. Before Piroflipping, you must have basic orientation skills down pat. You must be able to perform figure eights upright and perform figure eights inverted as well. And on top of that, it's recommended that you also have the ability to hold a helicopter in a pirouette, both upright and inverted. Now, when learning the Piroflip, I recommend that you go left tail to start with. Alright, so you pirouette in left tail. It's up to you. You can pirouette in right tail, but you just need to reverse everything that I'm talking about in this tutorial. It just seems that the helicopter seems to fly better in a left tail while doing a Piroflip. Alright, now the first stage of the Piroflip is to perform the half pirouette. Now the half pirouette is simply, if you can look at this side of this, if you can look at the cyclic, the half pirouette is basically applying positive collective while at the same time drawing a D on the cyclic from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Right, so drawing a capital D on the cyclic from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So apply positive collective and draw a D from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock and stop. Bring the helicopter back to you. Also make sure, if you're doing this in real life, that you've got lots of altitude. Altitude is your friend. So from up high, from 6 o'clock, sorry, from 12 o'clock till 6 o'clock and stop. Okay, once again come back. So this is the half pirouette. Positive pitch, 12 o'clock till 6 o'clock, stop. Positive pitch, 12 o'clock till 6 o'clock, stop. Right, now you need to perform hundreds of those until you get that down pat. You should be able to do them tight, you should be able to do them big and slow, you should be able to do them in all orientations as well, and that's the next stage. I want you to now perform the same maneuver while the helicopter's sideways to you. Okay, now a lot of tutorials on Piroflips don't cover this at all. And I want you to also perform the same maneuver while the helicopter is head into you as well. So you form a half Piroflip that way. And again, perform many of these until you've perfected it down pat. And the last position, of course, is the other side. Alright. There's a reason for doing this. I'll explain to you later on. Once you've done all those four positions, I then want you to do, and it won't take you long to learn this, but you must do this, you know, so that you have control of the Piroflip from any side of the field. So perform the same flips from the left of view, right? Performing the same four orientations. Okay, same half pirouettes from left of field, and the same from right of field. Okay. I won't go through all those, but that's what you need to do. You need to practice hundreds of those half pirouettes in the forward direction in all four orientations. Now the next stage of the Piroflip is going to involve the pirouette cycle. For learning, as I mentioned before, with left tail. For learning, I normally do 1.5 pirouettes, including the half pirouette during the transition of the flip. So let's talk about that. Here's the half pirouette through the transition of the flip. Then there's one pirouette, and then I want you to stop. Bring it back to the start and perform the same. Half pirouette, one pirouette in between, and come back to the start. So you can see there that we're breaking the pirouette into 4 different sections. Now preferably, if you're keen, and I recommend that you do it, you basically do the same thing on all 4 orientations. Oh, that wasn't very good. Right, whether it be head in, okay, or whether it be left of field, right, and of course right of field. Okay, so now that's the second part of the Piroflip. For the third part of the Piroflip, we're going to be learning the flip from inverted to upright. Now that's from this position here back to upright, like so. The way in which we do that, it's an inversion of the first process. So when we're inverted, we obviously apply negative collective pitch, right, before we start, and we draw a back the front D, back the front capital D, from 6 o'clock through to 12 o'clock on the cyclic. Alright, so again, apply negative collective, 6 o'clock through to 12 o'clock on the cyclic. Again. Right. So on the collective, apply negative, and then 6 o'clock through to 12 o'clock. Now you need to also practice that in all orientations. Alright, 6 o'clock through to 12 o'clock. I actually put in an extra loop there, but it's just... And also form it head in as well. 6 o'clock through to 12 o'clock. Reverse D while applying collective. So again, get all your 4 orientations down pat. Right, and do them left of field and right of field for the inverted to upright. Now, once you're inverted, you need to continue the rotation again, and it's 1.5 pirouettes. 1.5 pirouettes from inverted, so you've done a half to get to the inverted stage. Then it's 1. Then we come back upright, and then it's another 1. So at this stage we're going to put all the 4 parts together. So we do the first part of the Piroflip. Alright. Do around 1 pirouette. The second part of the Piroflip. And then do another pirouette. Alright. Pirouette. And then another pirouette. Inverted, pirouette, upright, pirouette. So you need to practice that over and over, and when you're doing it for real, keep it high. Please do not try and put it all together and think of it as a timing thing, like, oh geez, I can do pirouettes, you know, it's all timing. It's not, I mean, there is timing in it, but you're actually flying the helicopter through the maneuver. Okay, so please learn the 4 stages. Right, and just practice them slow. Now, when you're flying through the pirouette, you'll notice that sometimes it'll pull to the left, it'll pull to the right. You can actually steer the helicopter through the pirouette, and you steer that by applying collective at different times. Like for example, you'll be inverted, and I know that when I pirouette, I push that way. Okay, so if I want to move the helicopter in that direction when I'm inverted, right, I know that I can push it that way. So you watch the disc and you apply the collective to steer the helicopter throughout the maneuver. And that's the next stage. Like once you've got this maneuver down pat, right, once you've got all those 4 parts put together, the next stage probably is being able to steer it. So for example, we'll just do a figure 8 in a Piroflip. Okay, so that's the next stage. Just learning to feel, I mean, by default, when you're actually learning the Piroflip and you're trying to keep it in position, you're actually learning subliminally how to steer it. Now, once you've done that and you've got a feel for being able to move the helicopter around in the sky via applying collective at the right times while Piroflipping, I mean, it might take you a little bit of time to get to the figure 8 Piroflip, but eventually, once you start to control the helicopter through subtle movements on the collective, it's probably a good idea to start learning the Piroflip from different orientations. For example, performing a pirouette from the tail end position is different than performing the pirouette from the head end position. Right, it looks the same to the onlooker, but to you as a pilot it will be different. Right? And also perform the pirouette from a side-in position. Now, I know that the pirouette might look the same to you as the onlooker, but it's actually very different. So, that's part 1 of this rather complex and long tutorial on Piroflips. Please practice those maneuvers, and it will take time. It's something that you just can't. Piroflips are very, very complex. There's a hell of a lot going on when you're piroflipping the helicopter, and if you persist with it, it will enhance your flying to no end, because it leads to other tricks. You know, when you can do the Piroflip, like, you know, that's a half Piroflip there. You know, so basically these things are like parts of a Piroflip as well. Pirouetting TikToks. So there's a hell of a lot happening with a Piroflip. So please persist with them and learn them. They will help your flying immensely, but also do not rush them. Do not think that it's a timing thing where you can just mash the sticks, because you will crash. It's not. You've got to always keep your eye on the helicopter, and you've always got to be adjusting as you're flying the helicopter. You've always got to be adjusting, right, to suit on the position of the helicopter. Like for example, you're doing them slow here. Sometimes you might make them a fat oval, right, if you want to make it so that the tail doesn't dive so high, or other times you might want to make it so the tail dives high and it becomes more wild looking. So you get a really sort of, you start to pitch the elevator more. So there's different Piroflips depending upon what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. So we'll cover that in the next tutorial. Thank you very much for listening to this tutorial, and I sincerely hope that you master the Piroflip and get as much enjoyment out of this maneuver as I have. Thank you. Signing off for Heligods. Bye.